Now here's a question. Do we think she was meant to be off-putting because she's Shinji's goddamn mom?
And he's a lovely
Are we supposed to be made uncomfortable by her as an object of attraction because the main character should be uncomfortable being attracted to his mom?
Gendo sings at karaoke, I got naked pictures of your
mother.
Because you know what the hell is it? Damn. Okay, next slide.
I'm pretty sure that was implied anyway. Christ, he's got a tank full of copies.
Okay, so this is the most important and kind of the most inexact portion of this section of the panel. This is a section I like to call of lies and money. There's two guys up there. The first guy, Hiroyuki Yamaka, he was a top guy in Gainax. He directed The Wings of
Oniamis.
Thank you, Oniamis.
That is a bitchin' pipe.
And the second guy is Kazuya Tsurumaki, who was the deputy director of the series and directed the first part of the end of Evangelion. Most of us, most people who bother to look at the issue are under the assumption that the reason the end of the series seems to be so subpar and is such a strange ending is because of money problems and production deadlines and because it was just a shitty time for everyone. And the end of Evangelion was kind of an afterthought where they actually got money reinvested into them from the popularity of the series, and then they went back and finished it the way it was supposed to be. But, come to find out, Gainax had never said anything of the kind. And these two guys have said things completely to the contrary. Hiroyuki Yamaga was at a convention in 2010 here, and he was at a panel, and when someone asked him about the issues surrounding the end of the series, he was surprised that people assumed that they had money issues and that the ending was something different than what they were planning. He maintained that Gainax had been pushing from the beginning to end the series in that kind of psychological way.
So he planned on having us watch 3 minutes of them in the elevator not talking.
Now, the one thing that is true...
Once again, Anno's unique directorial style.
Yes.
Long static shots of power lines and slow pans across empty rooms.
How it was portrayed, the issues with static shots, that there were production deadlines that they were running slow on. Because, as you'll hear, as Tsurumaki did point out, they were not getting any sleep. They had to cut back a lot. That's why you get static shots. But money was on an issue, and the nature of the ending itself was planned from the beginning. In fact, when they came to Tsurumaki to direct part of the end of Evangelion, he was really surprised when they told him that because he thought that they had done everything they needed to do. But since the movies were announced officially less than 2 weeks after the show was done, there were no money problems. Production deadlines did affect the end of the series, but that's kind of how Anno wanted it to be done. And then they just went back and decided to milk out some more money, because that's what they do best. Gainax loves making money off of Evangelion, and it's really easy to do. Ava Doritos. Ava Doritos. I want some of those. Yeah, you can go.
I bet they taste like pennies.
This is the final section of the panel. I call it Ava and Men, or why Ava makes sense. It doesn't. But I'm going to explain why it should.
I was going to say.
But I will explain why it should, because the first thing we're going to do is show you a clip from the second movie, which Grant made an interesting observation about. Grant, would you like to share that with the class?
I don't know what you're talking about. Refresh me here.
You went and watched Ava 2.0 and then went...
Oh, okay. You mean the second of the new movies?
Yes, the new movies. I'm sorry. I should have maintained that.
It got me rock hard. Let me explain. Because it's not just the fact that the character designs and camera angles and scenes that I showed in my little presentation were, thumbs up awesome. It's just action, action, blam, action. And by the end of the movie, I was just like, I need to fuck something now. That was so cool.
I am so sorry.
Apology accepted.
Sorry,
But am I supposed to keep talking?
No.
Are y'all done?
I was just checking something. Okay, in the interest of time, I don't think we're going to show this clip, even though it's only a minute long, because we only have like 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it anyway.
In summation, has everyone seen Ava 2.0 or 2.222222?
No.
Yes? No? You haven't? Spoilers.
Rock.
Yes.
Now show the
Hard.
video. Now I will ruin your life. Good. All right. Oh, by the way, I was really lazy. We forgot to bring a real DVD copy. I did. So we're going to watch it with Spanish subtitles, and she's going to translate. She's Mexican.
Oh, can I translate, please? Can I translate? Let me translate.
What the hell was that? Well, the promised hour has returned, Shinji Yukari. This time, definitely, I will make you happy. Yay.
All I had to do was ask.
We improvise.
I have copies of my stuff, and all I had to do was ask for it.
And go back to the,
This one?
just that hit it.
I'd like to point out that that fits in with our earlier discussion on, what was it, Boyfriend of Steel?
Girlfriend.
The,
Girlfriend.
All right.
Girlfriend of Steel, the ugly end, the one where he ends up with.
Okay.
Kanji.
So
Or
I'm going to
Kaori.
roll through this a lot more quickly than I wanted to. Those of you who are big Eva fans probably know that there are a lot of different versions of Evangelion. You've got the original series, you've got the rebuild movies that we're looking at now, and there's 4 major manga versions. Campus Apocalypse, Angelic Days or Girlfriend of Steel, whichever you prefer.
Neon Genesis.
Ikari
Neon
Raising
Genesis,
Project.
the original, and
Ikari
Shinji
Raising
Yukari
Project.
Rising Project.
Raising Project, thank you. So, there, when that particular line came out, there was a sudden outburst of interest in the fan community. Is Anno trolling us? Is this a direct sequel? Blah, 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 blah. Lots of people have sided on the fact of Anno trolling them because that's what Anno does best, is troll us. Lots of people also point out there's not a lot of direct evidence to suggest that there are connections between the series and the movie. And if you just take it within the context of seeing the series and the movies, you could make that argument. There's not a lot of direct evidence. But if you take a look at the whole picture and you take into account all the other Eva series that are out there, you get a bit of a different picture here. Now, between myself and Roxy here, who has done an amazing amount of research with the manga portion, we've come up with a little theory to spin off to you. That is, that at the end of the series, with the third impact, Shinji Ikari has in fact been given literally the power to remake the world. The instrument for that is the gentleman right up there by the name of Kaoru, also known as, does anyone know what his angel name is for candy? 18th angel? I'm sorry, 17th angel. I'm sorry? Yes, he gets a candy.
Candy. Fire in the hole.
Whoa, that was,
Next slide.
you almost got it.
Yes, next slide. Now,
Nerds don't
These are
catch
excerpts.
things. They can't sports.
you're not going to be able to read this. That's cool. But the one on the left here is a scene from the original manga, NGE, which is still ongoing, by the way. It came out before the television series. It's still not finished. He's the laziest mangaka in history, and at the current rate of production he's been pulling, he won't be done until 2016. That's how slow this guy is. But what's important about the series is if we look at Kaoru as a character, in the original Neon Genesis Evangelion manga, he's very logical, he's very methodic, he's not very empathetic in terms of human traits. What happens in this scene when Shinji first meets him is that Shinji finds a stray cat. And he's not going to take the cat home with him. The cat doesn't want to leave because it needs a home. Kaoru strangles the cat. When Shinji objects to this, Kaoru asks if he was going to take care of the cat. Because if not, he was just going to starve to death anyway. So very logical, very methodical. But when we get to the television series, Kaoru is still kind of aloof, but he started taking interest in humans. In fact, that's what leads him to sacrifice himself and just say, Shinji, hold me for a minute and 23 seconds and then break my head off. Either the worst or most dramatic scene in the television series.
Boink.
We all remember that one. I remember watching that on VHS. That was
I
boring.
thought my DVD broke.
The sound's going, but it's not moving.
You hear the heads crunching in the VCR.
Yeah. But you see, the point here is that you see Kaoru kind of developing into a more human character. It gives you the impression that he is changing over time. And for that to occur, there has to be some kind of continuity between versions. For instance, Campus Apocalypse, right here, he's empathizing with Shinji because he wants to change the world for Shinji. And that leads us into the next slide. In this portion, this is Angelic Days, or Girlfriend of Steel, whichever you prefer. And this is essentially a flashback where Gendo's in school and Kaoru meets him for the first time. Gendo makes a remark that he hates the world as it is, and then Kaoru just magically shows up and offers to change it for him. A lot of things like this are spread out at random, throughout the different manga series. And if you start connecting the dots, you see that Kaoru starts to show up whenever he has a reason to facilitate change. Go to the next slide. And this is where we can tie it all together with, if you will, Kaoru's dream. I've seen up here from Angelic Days and from Campbell's Apocalypse. Kaoru has taken, essentially, a near romantic interest in Shinji. We all know that. It was kind of hinted at in the television series.
Near?
Hinted.
Okay, let me explain this to you. He grabs his hand in the shower in the series. He's practically sucking his dick in some of these. Okay? It's true! You've read it!
Yes, it is true, it is